I will start without an introduction. Because life rarely starts with a warning. Most of the time it starts quietly, with a feeling that is hard to explain. You are alive. Days pass. People are around. Responsibilities are handled. But inside, there is a strange sense that you are not fully here. As if the real version of you is still somewhere ahead. As if this moment is not really life yet, but preparation for it. A rehearsal, a draft. As if later, someday, you will finally start living for real. I know this feeling very well because I lived with it for most of my life. My name is Henry. I am 81 years old. And if I had to choose one word that followed me through my life, it would be later. Later, it will get easier. Later, I will have time. Later, I will allow myself. Later, I will live the way I truly want, not the way I am supposed to. And do you know why this sounds so convincing? Because it sounds reasonable. It does not sound like a mistake. It sounds like a plan. The problem is only one thing. Life does not know that you plan to start living later. It simply moves forward, with you or without you. Over time, I realized that most people live in a waiting room. They sit, they look around, they scroll through their phones, they check the clock, and they believe their flight will be announced soon, that the real part is about to begin, that all of this is temporary. But the flight is never announced, because the flight is now. And if you miss it, no one offers you another one. This is not a threat. It is simply a fact that becomes obvious only when there is far less time left than you thought. Maybe you are thinking right now, this is not about me. I thought the same. I did not believe I was living incorrectly. I worked hard. I tried. I was responsible. And that is exactly why it was so easy not to notice how I was slowly disappearing inside, day after day. The moment when life turns into a draft does not look like a tragedy. There is no loud signal, no disaster. You simply keep living, but you ask yourself less and less what you want and more what needs to be done. I asked myself that question too late. And do you know what was the scariest part? The answer was honest. I lived as if I had a spare life, as if this one could always be rewritten, as if there would still be time to start over. But life is not a draft. It has no final clean version. There is only what you actually lived. We rarely lose life all at once. We lose it in pieces, in evenings not spent with the people who mattered, in conversations we postponed, in words we never said, in decisions we made, not today. Each time it feels small, but over time, those small things create an emptiness that is very hard to fill. The most dangerous illusion is believing that later will be easier, that later you will have more strength, more confidence, more courage. But the truth is that later is almost always harder because there is more fatigue, more fear, more habits. There is a fear people rarely talk about out loud, the fear of truly living, because then you can no longer say, I have not started yet. You have to admit that this is your life, exactly as it is, without rehearsals. I waited for a sign, a conversation, an event, something that would say, now you are allowed. I waited for someone to give me permission to live my own life. But the truth is, no one is coming. There will be no permission. You can only decide for yourself, or not decide at all. And that is also a decision, just one with consequences that appear years later, when much can no longer be changed. I did not destroy my life. I did not leave. I did not start from zero. I simply stopped waiting for perfect conditions. I stopped believing that everything had to feel safe, calm, and convenient first. I started with a small now. One conversation I had postponed for years. One honest no to what drained my strength. One yes to what brought me back to myself. It did not look impressive. It did not look heroic. But it worked. And this is what I understood. Life does not change because of one big decision. It changes because of small choices you make every day or do not make. That is the difference between living and waiting to live. If you are living in waiting mode, ask yourself a simple question. What exactly are you waiting for? Which moment? Which condition? And who said it must happen before you begin living? Maybe you are waiting to feel more confident, richer, calmer, stronger. But what if that state never comes? What if this imperfect moment is the only one you have? We often believe life will begin when problems disappear. But problems do not disappear. They only change, and life passes the entire time. One day, you may realize you were waiting for a beginning that was already happening. I cannot get my years back, but I can tell you this now. While you still have a choice, not a perfect choice, not a safe one, but a real one, a choice between waiting and being present. Start not later, start today, not completely, not perfectly, but honestly, from where you are, with what you have now, not with what you think should appear someday. If you have watched this far, you already feel what I'm talking about. The only question is what you will do with it. Leave this video as a thought, or allow it to change something. You can keep waiting, or you can admit that life does not start by itself. It has to be started without applause, without guarantees, but for real. I am 81 years old. I cannot start over, but you can. And that may be the most important difference between us, and the greatest chance you still have. Do not postpone everything. Postpone only fear. Begin with a small step, one honest decision, one moment where you choose to be here instead of waiting again. Write in the comments one thing you have been postponing the longest, even if it feels uncomfortable, even if it feels scary. Naming it is the first step toward stopping the lie. Subscribe if you want more. I am not trying to motivate you. I am simply sharing what I understood too late. And if you ever catch yourself saying later again, remember this moment, because maybe this is your flight.